Okay, so let's start, huh? And folks, as usual, please feel free to ask me a question. I may, I will try to give whatever, I will try to answer whatever I remember now. Okay, remember in last class in computer architecture, we studied about synchronous communication and asynchronous communication. We studied buses, okay? And since many of you were absent, so I am just repeating. We have seen two kind of buses. Okay, and first was system bus that connects the processor to memory, and that was synchronous bus. Okay, and then we had asynchronous communication when we try to connect to Ethernet card. Okay, and then because Ethernet is I/O, it's treated as I/O, and then we have asynchronous communication. The difference between the two is that in synchronous communication, same clock goes to all devices, is same clock, while in asynchronous communication, same clock doesn't go, but that doesn't mean clock is not used, right? So clock, without use of clock, you cannot regenerate signals. So when we study data link layer and last two layers, in fact, we are using asynchronous communication. That's all you need to understand. And second thing is that in system bus, we have, bus size is usually, in case of RISC, is 32 bits. Okay, or in other systems it's 8 bits or 16 bits. 16 bits or 32 bits will parallelly travel on 32 wires, and of course distances are very small in case of processor memory connections. So skews, signal skew is not much, hence controllable, while IO, when we do, there is a signal has to travel long. And in fact, in local area network or wide area network, signal communication is in kilometers. Okay, or even LAN can extend nowadays to thousands of kilometers, because on fiber signals don't degrade so much. So hence, we don't do parallel bit communication. Okay, of course, in some place or other you will find, if you study advanced concepts, that there can be parallel communication, but not at the byte level. Bits within a byte are never sent parallelly, or even multiple bytes in a packet are never sent parallelly. Okay, so remember that all communication henceforth in networking is only one bit is sent at a time. Although there can be in Ethernet, speeds are more than terabyte per second today, right? So it means that terabyte bits are, or bytes, I don't know, or maybe let's assume bits, are sent one after other. It means the distance between bits is very small, and also bit size is also very small. The width of a bit, right? Or when signal is 1 or 0 or whatever, or 1 or 0, right? So remember this difference. Okay, with this, let's start. Okay, so we'll cover these three important topics. First thing is that let's understand why DLL is required, data link layer is required. We'll study CSMA-CD protocol. And third, we'll study in very brief Ethernet. In the next class, we'll go into study Ethernet in detail. And I think next class, we will also get time to study VLAN. And the last class, I think I have a choice of covering either software-defined networking, SDN, which is very hot, especially in data center networking, or we can study the concept of mobile communication, how mobile communication happens. That's also very important topic. So we'll see. Okay, references are as usual. Possibly you have been using all this Jim Kuro's book and Scott Shanker's. I like this professor because I've gone through all his lectures, so it's quite interesting to pick up a few points from there. All right, so the first thing is that what is the role of data link layer when you connect to a website? Gunjan, can you tell me? No? Advait?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Link layer is supposed to send packets in our local area network.
No, and if I am not using local area network, then?
It is responsible for delivery of one hop packages, like
Excellent.
from, yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Okay. Okay, good. So then let's look at where we use, right? So this is where the connection is, and in between you have internet. Okay, and then you connect your laptop or mobile over link. Okay, and then this what internet is shown in between also will have a lot of links. Okay, some network in between, right? Okay, all right, and this connected to one server is shown as simple server, but it could be very powerful server, or it can be a desert data center as well, right? So fine, so we have this scenario. And when you connect to internet, then you use and from home, then use either Wi-Fi router, uh, yeah, for example, the one which is, and at the end of Wi-Fi router you connect it through whatever. I mean, most probably most of us have fiber today, or alternatively we can have ADSL modems, right? DSL and ADSL is a technology where we try to use existing telephone cable. Okay, if there's a PSTN cable that comes to home, okay, and that comes from exchange usually, but nowadays, of course, I mean, there are it comes from possibly within 500 meters and so, and there is a junction box. But think this as a ordinary cable, telephone cable that comes to home, and this telephone cable carries usually a voice signal. Whatever PSTN phone, if you have fixed line phone, and using only 4 kilohertz channel, right? Voice channel is 4 kilohertz, but there's a huge bandwidth available in that piece of wire. There's a last mile wire, right? And that's already existent. So now technology is that then you can use this bandwidth using some smart frequency, kind of frequency division multiplexing. Okay, or you get the bandwidth from that's unused, that's called DSL. uh, okay, and ADSL is where both side upside speed and downside speed is different, then we call it asynchronous DSL. So some of us, who had actually, now not many places you will find this, but it's very popular in US because they had very well laid telephone networks. But in India, PSTN has never been very popular, and till 1990s the cost of telephone line was very high, and India actually started more with mobile communication. So you might not have ADSL communication. So mostly we have fiber coming to home, or Ethernet going from this box, Wi-Fi box, up to a junction point where there is a router. Like in my building, uh, nowadays I have two connections, one by Airtel, another by Reliance. Reliance give fiber to home, while Airtel connection is old, that is still Ethernet cable going from my home to basement router. Okay, so these are the multiple ways. Either you have Wi-Fi or Ethernet, or you have ADSL, or nowadays you have 3G 4G data connection, right? I mean, from your mobile, uh, you can directly connect to internet, or you can connect your laptop over Bluetooth, like here, and then you can do internet through your laptop over mobile to base station here, uh, like in GSM or 3G 4G, there is antenna within say half a kilometer. uh, okay, that's called base station, and then this communication can happen. All right, uh, so let's look at scenario where are you going to use link layer technology, right? So you're sitting in a coffee shop, okay, and then you switch on your laptop, and then what is the first thing that laptop will ask for? Anyone? And this coffee shop has a Wi-Fi router. Wi-Fi signals are available. What should it do?
It will ask
It
for
will
a connection
ask
and
for
password.
Yes. Okay. So basically, yeah, your laptop will start asking. It will emit signals, right? Is there something that I can talk to? Okay. So your laptop says that, hey, does it continually searches for wireless links? Okay, wireless networks. And similarly, the Wi-Fi router there also emits signal and says, hey, I am there. Okay, so both things happen together. And then if password is available to you, or if you have visited that place earlier and you already a password is cached in, then there is a connection. Fine. And then there's a cryptographic exchange. Some key exchanges happen. So encryption is there between your laptop and the Wi-Fi router. Okay. All right, this is very simple step. So are we using link layer here? Okay. So anywhere there is exchange of information, whether it's a wireless or wireline, remember, it has to happen over a link. Link need not be physical medium, right? Can be over air. All right. So there is, of course, basically communication over some kind of link layer. Now, what is the next step then? You have read DHCP, right? The laptop may not have IP address because you have moved into city and directly went to a coffee shop, and then you don't have IP address. And note that IP address or location kind of, you know, is I mean, you cannot have choice of IP address, at least in IPv4. Otherwise, routing may not happen, right? Because IPv4 address are kind of dependent on which location you are in. So now you need to get IP address, right? So that's all right. So then your laptop asks for basic configuration, which is not only IP address, but also you will need what other things, right? You will need also, a router which is a gateway router, so you can send the packets outside. Also, you need other information like domain name, server, etc. Right? So you ask for that, and DHCP server usually is in the network. Okay, and then DHCP server will send all the config information, which includes IP address and then gateway address and DNS server. DNS server may be inside network or maybe outside. It doesn't matter, right? So now I'm asking you, where are you using link layer here? What all you do in order to do DHCP? Where do you do it? It's Ethernet, right? So you are using link layer, all right? And then now what is the next step? So you know your IP address. Now you want to know IP address of google.com. Okay, then you search for DNS, the domain name server, and you know the domain name server's IP address because it has come in DHCP. You know gateway address. Okay, now up to gateway address you have linked. There is a connection over Ethernet, and then from there your packet goes to DNS, right? So let's assume this is the resolver, and then this resolves a query. Okay, and this responds back. So your machine gets, basically IP address corresponding to google.com. Now the question again I'm again asking is that where is the use of link layer? Link layer again, I will tell you that it happens everywhere, right? So all this, if this path, wherever there is a path or link, and this link can be of different types, it doesn't matter to us, right? IP doesn't bother about what is the link layer inside. All IP does is giving IP address and also do routing, whatever routings you have. I mean, you would have said link state and other routing mechanisms. So its responsibility is primarily routing. Okay, so whatever is the link type, this could be satellite communication, or this may be Ethernet, or this might be say DSL, or this could be SONET. For IP address, it doesn't matter. For IP communication, it doesn't matter what is inside, right? Depending on the link that is in between, communication is done based on the characteristic of that link. Okay, all right. So link layer sits everywhere. That's a point I am trying to make. And this point, that IP does routing. It interconnects different networks. And this most powerful networking technology that happened in last few decades, right? Because before that, we had different networks of different kinds. We have telephone networks, we have satellite communication network, then we had some data communication network, right? ISDNs and all that. But there was no technology to interconnect them. Okay, and then this technology came, which does not bother about what is underneath. Underneath could be anything, right? And it simply interconnects. It means that it uses underneath network that is available as a mechanism to transmit IP packets, right? Okay, it's like this, that you are sending a letter, okay, to your friend or your father in Delhi. You are in IIT Goa and then sending a letter to your father in Delhi. Okay, you create a small letter, I mean basically a packet. On that you write, inside is content, which is nothing but, in terms of networking, is some bits are there. And then you write your address of where your father lives, that house. And then you simply give it, drop it in the post office. Now let's assume the postman from there takes your letter and goes to, from IT post office to GPO, general post office, right? And goes on cycle. Okay, and in order to do that, he puts your letter into a bigger envelope, a bigger packet, and writes the address of GPO and takes that and delivers it, right? And then person in GPO removes that packet, takes out the letter, and then looks at the address, destination address, and then send it to, say, for example, GPO in Mumbai. Okay, and then now the letter goes over here. So this guy, GPO in Goa, will put this letter inside another box and send it to, and write the address of GPO Mumbai, and then and it goes over here. And in when it reaches GPO Mumbai, is again letter is taken out, put it in another envelope, then it goes to Delhi. Okay, while you see that inside that bigger packet, that has meaning only for local link. Inside is a letter that has actual address. So that address is nothing but IP address. And what is address that we write on the external box or packet is nothing but local address. Okay, so this is exactly analogous to what we do in communication over IP. Underneath network could be any, and when and then it has to adopt to communication over that, and that is the responsibility of link layer. Okay, so when postman takes over bicycle your letter to GPO locally, then it has to adopt to going over road and put your letter properly so that it reaches to another end. Similarly, the one GPO in Goa is responsible for letter to go up to Mumbai over air link. It has to appropriately pack it up such that it reaches to another end. Okay, so this is exactly what happens in IP, that we have networks of different kinds. Okay, it could be PSTN, it could be cable, it could be some data network, or okay, and as long as IP, they are connected over IP, so these can be used as a means for communication of IP packets. Now these all PSTN link or Ethernet etc. becomes link for IP to communicate. All right. So this is another view where we use internet, for example, in mobile backhaul network, okay, or data center networks or corporate networks or whatever, enterprise network. and so on. Okay, and you have seen this diagram. I'm sure you in class you would have seen this diagram, right? So we have just nothing but packet communication over links. Okay, so we don't care what is inside this link, whether it's fiber or it's Ethernet or whatever, right? And path is created, and there's the beauty of IP. Okay, so now we see these are the links here. We have, for example, all these are links where end devices are connected. Okay, and then we have links here between routers. Could be any link. I mean, now, of course, nowadays we have fiber, but it could be any link, right? And then packets going here will be adopted, or it will be put inside a frame corresponding to the link that's going to, or endpoints that's connected to. Okay, so for example, if it's going over satellite, then IP packets will be encapsulated into frames that runs possibly some protocol like CSMA. Okay, when it's Ethernet, the packets will go inside Ethernet frames corresponding to CSMA CD. Okay, when you're using SONET, then it has to go into a different frame format. All right. So and then these links are of various kind. I mean, dial-up is one where generally we use PPP, not shown here, first. Okay, or ISD and DSL. DSL we have already described, or ADSL. A cable TV network, we can also use for internet communication. Fiber to home, the Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and cellular. These are normal links that we use. Okay, any question up to this point? Okay, I hope it's very simple, right? You can tell me. Deep Desai, I failed to communicate with you in my previous class. Are you there? Gunjan?
Yes, sir.
आ रहा है समझ में?
Yes, sir.
Anything you couldn't understand?
No, sir. Neha ma'am had covered some of the basics
Okay,
in the beginning of the course.
very good. So let's go ahead then, right? Let's move then faster. So now,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
Sir, in the previous slide, you show that that cable TV have the almost 1 to 40 Mbps bandwidth.
Yes.
But sir, if I check in my locality, or if I try to check the bandwidth of my that mobile phone operator, it will be more than 1 or 2 Mbps. Then is the both Mbps are different or something else?
See, cable TV, if you see, you use a coaxial cable, like Airtel, etc. So none of them today, none of them in India, at least I'm not aware of, give you internet over those cables. Okay, now this technology is popular in US. In India, few people started but failed for certain reasons. Okay, now bandwidth of this cable that comes to home has huge. Is, I think, if I'm not wrong, it can is more than 100 Mbps or 200 Mbps possibly. And what we use, because we watch usually one channel at a time, okay, which requires 5 megahertz approximately, or 5 Mbps. If you approximately, let's take 5 Mbps, then approximately 100 Mbps is available, which can be used for internet communication. But see, in India, what happens is that usually, these companies have traditionally not done this, internet over TV network. Okay, for multiple reasons. They have to fine tune their network. That's first thing. And secondly, cable operators usually are different from internet service providers. And even there are some common companies like, for example, Tata's or Airtel, they found giving fiber is much easier nowadays than actually giving you connection over, cable. So see, if you get 1 Mbps, then there is a problem that in case you are getting, but I doubt that you are getting, again check it up if you're getting internet over cable TV. But even if you're getting, more technology is capable of giving, but what is bandwidth that's given to you by ISP? That's a question mark, right? Like 4G is capable of giving us very high speeds, but what I get is usually less than 100 kilobits per second most of the time. So there is a difference between technology capability and what your ISP is doing. Okay, so that's short answer. Am I able to answer you?
According to you, that cable TV will use that different type of technology for sending the bandwidth, and in our mobile phone, we will get the different type of technology for getting the bandwidth.
Of course, yes. Link is different. Link here is a cable. Okay, and the link protocol that sends packet from one end of the cable to another end of the cable has got to be different. And note that this cable is not point-to-point technology. One cable which is running from the back end or head end, that's called in terminology, comes to many homes. So there is some junction somewhere, and hence the protocol for packet communication has to be very different. So that's the reason every link has some characteristic, and link layer protocol whose responsibility is communication of the packet from one end to another end, has to be different depending on the technology used, right? So
Okay.
that, okay, so there are multiple things in that protocol. First thing is that if multiple parties are sharing the link, it happens in cable TV, then there must be some protocol to share bandwidth among many, that each end or each user should get some bandwidth in some way, some sequence or some access mechanism has to be there. Okay, and what happens in case of mobile communication? See, in mobile communication, your device is sending signals, radio signals, which are received by base station. So there is a dedicated link between you and then base station. Okay, now that your mobile phone is capable of sending at, say for example 100 Mbps, base station is also able to send at 100 Mbps, but the router at the back end, which is shared among thousands of users, is not giving you bandwidth because your ISP does not want to give you that kind of bandwidth. And it's a shared mechanism, is shared among number of users, so you don't get until unless fine-tuned as it happened in Korea, Japan, and some advanced country where ISPs are better and they get paid more from consumers. Okay, I think, is it enough answer?
Yes, sir.
Every link, remember, every link has different characteristics, hence protocol has to be different. That's all I wanted to communicate. Okay, so now we have a link. Let's assume link between your mobile phone and then base station. Okay, there's a link in air. Okay, you don't see it, but there is a link. Okay, now what all needed? What does link do? First thing first, it has to, put your letter or put your bits inside a frame. Now, why do you need this frame? Because your mobile or end of your antenna, and that has got to have some handshake. It should know that it's coming from some source, right? Similarly, between when you do communication between two laptops or two machines, and there is a link in between, there has to be some mechanism of putting actual packet that you are communicating, for example, IP packet, inside a frame. That's called framing. And physical addressing. Then there has got to be address of the endpoint. Now, when there's a point-to-point link, then you may not actually need all this. Okay. However, if this link is also shared by a number of users, then you need, okay, the way of addressing. Okay, that's the first point. Second point is that if it's a Ethernet kind of technology, okay, let's see this way, right? Then you need to know who's sending to whom. The link here is now shared link. So there's a way to frame and physical addressing. And then there is requirement of reliable delivery, right? It means that let's assume 2 endpoints of a link. And if your higher level protocol needs reliable communication, that data link layer needs to give reliability, then there must be mechanisms of what you have studied in TCP, right? This frame should be numbered, okay, and then sent in a sequence like, sliding window protocol. And then some frames are lost, then there must be mechanism of retransmission. Okay, so these are usually method in link layer protocols, but Ethernet does not use any of these. Okay, Ethernet, in IP also doesn't bother about reliable communication. It's only end-to-end TCP that cares for reliable communication. Similarly, Ethernet does not care if packet is lost, it's lost. Okay, it does not care, but probability of losing a packet in Ethernet is so low nowadays. When it's become switched, then it's wasteful activity to bother about reliable communication in Ethernet until unless you are using, some very high any application that requires very high degree of reliability and so on. Okay, all right. So reliability, flow control, of course, is that you would have seen in case of TCP, right? I mean, it exists because of whether your buffer, a sender sends packet at faster speed than receiver can receive, some packets will lost, buffer is limited, all these reasons, right? So flow control is also needed, but again in Ethernet is done at it's not very important mechanism, because both end of a link usually have Ethernet cards and usually understand what is to be done. We'll come to that CSMA/CD protocol later, then we'll understand. Error control is very limited. It's not done by retransmission of frames, but error correcting codes. And of course, access control. If there is a Ethernet, thick Ethernet or thin Ethernet, then who will grab the channel first? We'll study that, right? Okay, so data link layer, we are concerned largely about 2 layers. The second layer is data link layer. First is a physical layer, right? So what happens is that when we send packet, like here, IP packets come here, it goes here, over physical medium, comes here, and again it goes up to IP layer where IP packet is removed, and then decision is taken where the packet has to go to. That's the role of router. Suppose it's connected with multiple links, which link is to go to, and then again it's given to data link layer. And now this data link layer, for example, this link is chosen, then it has to put a frame on top according to that link. All right, so we'll look at this, and this anyway you would have studied when you studied layering mechanism, right? At each layer we add headers, so we'll not discuss this. This also is very kind of very often seen diagram. So we use this link layer. Okay, we have, note that adjacent nodes use same kind of interfaces. So okay, so here look at the node here, host, and then the router here. If host is connected to router, both end of the link will have same what do you call that, adapter or same software it must be running, right? Could be of different company, but same software. So the link, Ethernet is to be connected to Ethernet, cannot be connected to anything else, right? And now next link, for example, the link between these two, these two router, is over, say, SONET. SONET you will not study in this course because it's it's still this technology is in use. So now this here, when the IP router decides to send it over SONET, then it uses technologies. It puts into the frame. IP packets put into frame corresponding to SONET communication, right? So SONET uses usually fiber. So here, IP packet goes into Ethernet frame. So this Ethernet outside, inside is IP. Here outside is SONET, inside is IP. And then whatever be the protocol between two here, is to be followed, and so on. Okay. All right. So this is the same thing that we have discussed earlier. Okay, sending side encapsulates datagram in frame, adds error correcting bits and flow control, etc. Receiving side looks for error, flow control, and extract datagram and passes on to receiving node. It's extremely simple, right? Now let's. Okay, any question up to this point? Any question?
Sir, how does this flow control work?
Okay, so now flow control, of course, is it totally depends on the protocol. Okay, I would think at least that 20-30 commonly used link layer protocol. PPP does it differently. Okay, some versions of Ethernet do it. Okay, and it's usually by same mechanism, like the way you do it in TCP is a sliding window protocol or some adoption of sliding window protocol. Basically, it's a mechanism where if it's a communication between two endpoints of about the adjustment of speed. Okay, so there are number of protocols for that, and depending on what link layer you are using. Okay, we will take one example fully, which is Ethernet, which is the technology nowadays for link layer. And of course, I mean, PPP is also in use, but we'll discuss all these points when we study Ethernet in the next class. Okay. But remember that it's usually a sliding window kind of mechanism. Concept is the same. Implementation could be slightly different. Okay, so let's look at multiple access protocol, or we call it MAC. Okay, so there are, okay, basically it says that how to use a link or channel among number of users. Okay, it means a channel is one, and how do you use it? Now there are a number of ways of doing that. Possibly you would have gone through this, the TDMA, FDMA, CDMA. Basically time division multiplexing or frequency division multiplexing or code division multiplexing. We are not going to get into that, right? Or it could be taking turns, like you have a common channel and connect to that various nodes. Okay, and one becomes master and then communicates for some time, and then second or some other node becomes master, and there must be then protocol such that how a distributed protocol to decide who becomes master and who becomes, and then it can send packets to some receiver. Okay, so one of this protocol is token ring, I think, token ring and token bus. Okay, not in use. Token ring, token bus were used, very popular about 40 years back. And since Ethernet came, it has all these protocols died. Okay. Something that we want to study is random access protocol. Okay. In random access protocol, channel is not divided time wise or frequency wise. Okay. and it means the channel is available and anyone can use it. And if there is a collision, then there is a mechanism to recover from that. Okay, so we'll study this today. Okay, all right. So there are number, again we can say that it's of point-to-point type. Like, you know, there is a Ethernet switch and host. Your laptop, for example, is communicating to, say, a router, Ethernet switch. Here is a you know, point-to-point link. All right, or it could be broadcast kind. For example, Ethernet here, which is old Ethernet. You know, there is one common link to which different you know, PCs are connected. Okay, or it could be, you know, shared radio. Okay, all right. So we will discuss mainly point to point is quite simple. We'll discuss shared medium called and protocol called CSMA. Okay, CSMACD. All right. So note that there is one shared broadcast medium, and there can be okay. So basically, if there is a shared medium, only two parties can communicate with each other, right? And one at a time. Okay, so it's like this. In a classroom, what is the protocol followed, right? When teacher is teaching, all of you are listening. Okay, and in case teacher is teaching and you also start talking, then there is a collision. And then what mechanism is followed? Both wait for some time before speaking again, right? All right, so this is very simple protocol we follow. And you know, the multiple access protocol is very similar. When two nodes start communicating and there is a collision, both then have to do something about it. The first thing first is that both have to abandon communication. Okay, and then restart. Okay, so note that this algorithm that we use in Ethernet is totally distributed algorithm, which finds out how nodes share channel, okay, or when node can transmit. When we say distributed algorithm, it means that there is no master or there is no central entity which decide who will transmit. Every node in a distributed system executes same algorithm. All right. All right. And there is no out of band channel here. Now, when, say, for example, in PSTN network, you know, when you are doing STD call, sometimes you see the beep, 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 right? So your signal, or which is through SS7, okay, goes over a separate link, and your voice goes over totally different links. So path for signaling and path for communication is different, and that's called out of band channel. Okay, while in internet and most of protocol that we use here use same channel signaling. If they use it, it means that connection request etc goes over same path. Okay, so we'll not get into this, more of telecom concept. So now let's study for next 15 minutes about CSMA CD. Okay, Ethernet use CSMA CD algorithm, which is here. Okay, CSMA planes is used in satellite communication, or Aloha is kind of CSMA, but we are not again discussing that. So basic CSMA carrier sense multiple access says that listen before transmit. So, you know, in a class, if there is a silence, only then you will speak, right? When I am talking, then you will not speak in between. When I'm pausing, when I'm taking a pause, then only then you will start speaking, right? So that's the first thing, that listen before transmit. Now, if sense channel is idle, nobody is communicating, okay, or you sense that nobody is communicating, then transmit the entire frame. Okay, if channel is sense busy, then defer the communication. Okay, when I'm talking, obviously you will not talk. right? Then you will wait until I finish talking a sentence, right? All right. Now what happens if I start talking and the other person also starts talking at the same time? There is a collision. So it may happen because both of us sense the channel to be free. Okay. If there's a collision, then immediately we sense there is a collision, right? So it means that now in Ethernet nodes, also there must be nodes must sense that there is a collision. Okay. And as soon as there is a collision, what is to be done? If both of us, for example, you start talking and I am talking, both of us continue to talk, then it's wasteful, right? Communication, nobody will be able to understand what's happening. Similarly, two nodes, as soon as they discover there is a collision, they must stop talking, right? This will avoid channel wastage, right? Note that this collision is very easy in, okay, very easy when we use wires. Okay. However, it is very difficult in air. So, for satellite communication, because delay is so much, so collision detection takes a lot of time. By the time, hundreds of packets are transmitted, so it's not really an efficient method. Collision detection is not efficient method. So satellite communication uses slightly different protocol than Ethernet. In Ethernet, traditional Ethernet, collision detection is very simple because length of the Ethernet that's allowed is usually very small, few hundred meters, and there's a restriction in traditional old Ethernet because of collision detection reasons, right? So the collision can still occur, right? Both sense that channel is free, yet collision can happen because because both will see, for example, at the same time channel side, they will start communication, like in this case, right? So here the node here sees that channel is free, start communication, and say this node here start communication at this point, and then when after some time this signal will reach somewhere here and this signal will reach here and there will be collision like this point here. Okay, so it means this all at this point what we see here is a collision area. It means that this point onwards there is a collision. But when we have double color here, it means that it's being sensed by corresponding nodes. Okay, so all this is a collision. So it means that now we can see there's a lot of wastage here because both continue to communicate entire packet. This must be stopped. Okay, all right. So there's a lot of time wasted here. So now what we can do is that CSMACD protocol reduces the time wasted because as soon as there is a collision, if for example, this notes that there is a collision. Similarly, this note sense there is a collision, they will stop communication. Okay, all right. So now any question up to this point?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, of course, yes.
So you said that collision detection is easy in a wired network.
Yes.
So simply, is it like if both transmit a 1, then it cannot be detected, but if one transmits a 1, the other one transmits a 0, then it can be detected?
Yes, I mean, of course, I mean, we are not going into the level of bits here, but there has got to be, in Ethernet, what happens is they sense the voltage levels. Okay, and so there's usually it's by sensing the whether there is change in voltage in the line. Okay, so obviously there is a collision. If 1 0 is one is transmitting all 1, other is transmitting 0. Of course, I mean, there may not be able to sense the collision, but it doesn't happen, right? Collision 0, again, it depends on the coding you're using. 0, if your 0 is actually coded as no voltage, then possibly it's not possible to detect. But the probability of that is very, very, very low. That packet will contain all 0. In fact, it may not happen because, in Ethernet, right in the beginning, there is a preamble, right, for synchronization that has pattern of zeros and ones. So theoretically, if everything is 0 and everything is 1, then it's not possible. But otherwise, after maybe, yeah, it will be detected easily. It may be just question of, first few bits are 0, then may not be, but that's not the structure in Ethernet. Okay, is it the question? Am I able to answer the question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, so let's now look at this protocol. So network interface card receives datagram from network layer, which is IP layer, and puts this datagram inside a frame that we have already discussed, right? So now you have a Ethernet frame, okay, and IP packet inside. Okay, and this NIC now senses the channel. Okay, here we are assuming again that there is a Ethernet here, which is nothing but a wire, and then there are various NICs. Look at this way, just visualize it this way, right? Okay, if this guy starts sending and channel is idle, it will it will send the complete frame. Okay, if busy, that wait until channel becomes idle and then transmit. Simple. Now, if NIC transmits entire frame without collision, then good, done. This job is complete. Entire frame has transmitted. Now it can sense only till last bit is sent. Last bit of the frame. If the last bit of frame is sent and it does not detect collision, then it's successful. Okay. And if it detects, if an IC detects another transmission while sending, then abort. It will abort the communication, it will stop communication and then send jam signal. Okay. Now with the jam signals, all nodes will come to know that there is a collision. Okay. So now what is to be done? Everyone has stopped communication. It means that this guy has stopped communication and the guy, let's assume this guy was also sending and the collision happened, this guy will stop communication. Now both of them have packets to send. Like, both of us want to talk. Then let's assume that immediately after that we start communication. Then again there will be collision. Then in order to avoid that, it says that, the protocol says that there has got to be some back off. It means that I will back off for some time, you will back off for some time before communication, and this back off time will be different. This will reduce the probability of collision, right? So then it says that you choose a back off period randomly between some number between 0 and 2 to raised power m-1. Okay, and again if collision happen, then increase this interval and again choose a number randomly, right? So that's the protocol. All right, are you able to understand?
Sir, I got a query.
Yes.
Like, sir, how does the collision looks like on the bit level? Like, I am sending a stream of bit,
Yes.
and other person also try to send a bit. So,
Yes.
sir, everyone is connected to a switch now.
No, I am not talking about switch, sir. I am talking
Sir,
right.
can we connect many people with wires direct?
So, okay. So right now we are talking only at the protocol level. We'll look at the implementation. And in fact,
Okay.
CSWCD is still in use, although collisions don't happen. Now, when things started, okay, when actually I started, when I joined IIT Madras as a faculty member, or even before that, first thing, my colleague Professor Gonzalez was there, who was director of IIT Mandi. We both were in networking, and first thing we did is to put a thick Ethernet like this, which ran through entire department, say around 400 meters. Okay, and then this was a thick one, and then we have dug a hole in that, and then use a pin kind of thing, right, a connector, and then connected our PCs. Okay, so this was the mechanism. Okay, it means now any node can start communication and there will be collision. Okay, so this protocol CSMA-CD was designed for this kind of structure, and now of course we have then improved this to this kind of structure, which is called thin Ethernet. Where we have taken wire to PC and then connected next PC and so on, and then we use this hub kind of structure that's in use today. Okay, but CSMA-CD is still in use. That's my point. Okay, any other question on this one? Okay, now I'm asking you a question. What should be the condition such that collision is always detected?
Check if the line is clear before sending anything.
Pardon?
Check if the line is clear. If something is going through the line, we must not send any type of data.
Okay.
So that's why if we are not sending any data when the line is clear, so there will be no collision.
No, that's fine. I mean, I agree. But you know what? If I say my wire length is 100 kilometers and machines are connected, okay, do you think that and then Ethernet has some frame size, say let's assume that 512 bytes. So this guy at this end starts sending 1 bit at a time and sends all 512 bytes, and then it goes to other end. Okay, and let's assume that, okay, which is let's assume, can it travel 10 kilometers? Okay, and then you should be able to find collision. See, note, the moment the last bit is sent out on the wire, this guy relaxes. It does not do it. Knows that my job is over. Now, if all the bits take some time to travel, okay, and let's assume that at the end, see, this guy can sense channel free until this bit reaches to the end. Let's assume just before that this starts communication. Then there's a collision here, and then collided signal has to travel back all the way up here, right? So now you have to look at transmission time, how much time it will take to put a packet onto wire, and what is the propagation time, and then what's time to signal to come back. So there are some restriction on your transmission speed, which is how fast you're putting packet on this one. If that is kind of, let's assume, fixed, the next thing that has to be there, what is the propagation time to the end and signal to come back, such that you can detect collision. And it means that the collision that can happen at this end, that signal has to come here before last bit is transmitted. So now you have a condition, okay, and that's the basic that puts a limitation on length of the Ethernet. Okay, we're not going to that detail. If you want, I can send you slides on that. Okay, let's discuss in very brief another. How much time we have? Time is over. Okay, another few minutes, right, and then we'll close. Okay, all right. So we started with this mechanism where thick Ethernet went, and then we had a cable here to each PC, and this was not a clean mechanism because the reliability problem. Something happens to cable, something happens to this junction point. In fact, it happened that sometimes students come and then they don't want exam and they remove this because then Ethernet cable used to run outside the rooms. So it's possible that all these mischiefs can happen. Then second was run cable through PCs like this. Again, is a reliability problem. If this node fails or something happens to junction, then there's a problem. And then it was thought, why not create a hub here, which is a passive hub. if you, it means that now it simply joins all this, right? So then it becomes nothing but like a bus, like here, it's same structure on the top. But now you have control over each line. Okay, so now we use this. It means that the junction, if this repeater or switch or hub even is 200 meters away, a wire will run, a pair of wire will run from your desktop up to that hub. Okay, so now we have most modern Ethernet use twisted pair Ethernet, which it means a pair of wires which is unshielded twisted, or UTPs we call, run up to hub. Okay, and these UTPs are something like this that's shown here. Okay, and of course now we have fibers running, or we can have also wireless links, right? So what we have studied now is this mechanism. Initially is a thick Ethernet. Then we replace it with hub. Of course, this shows switch, but hub is something which is non a switch, is just collapse, right? It's a basically whatever comes here goes everywhere, right? And then we replace this with a switch. Now we have a switch, that something that comes here cannot be blindly sent to all. Of course, in the beginning, signal is sent to all until address discovery happens, but afterwards, switch will look at destination Ethernet address and then send it there. Okay. All right, last 2 minutes. So Ethernet started with, actually I have seen even lower speed. It shows about 10 Mbps. Actually, it was 1 Mbps in the beginning. And then Ethernet speed has been continuously increasing, right? It went to 100 Mbps, then gigabit Ethernet came in 1 gigabit per second. Now note, this is a port speed. An Ethernet switch can have, hundreds of 100 ports or even more than 100 ports. Okay, so you have this is a link speed or port speed now, and now we have 400 gigabit per second Ethernet available. It means that a port speed can be 100 gigabits per second, which is very, very high speed. Okay, and then people are actually trying to achieve a speed of terabyte per second on Ethernet cable. Note that terabyte, we can't even imagine what is terabyte, because what we get in home is less than 100 megabits per second. Most of the homes are getting less than 100 megabits, right? So it's a significantly high speed the Ethernets can work. All right, to summarize, so note that link layer is responsible link layer is simply to transmit a frame from one end to another end. Note that we use word frame at data link layer, which is nothing but, and we start calling it a packet in IP layer and onwards, right? So we send a frame here from one end to the other end of the link. The responsibility of the link is to make sure the packet reaches, if the protocol wants that, right? So its responsibility is error detection and correction if there are few bits are in error. Okay, we'll study that in detail in the next class. And then sharing broadcast channel, it means that if there are multiple points in that, okay, there is Ethernet and multiple points are connected, how can we share it among number of users? Okay, and then of course link layer addressing means that now suppose this node wants to communicate to the node here, every node should have some address. In Ethernet we have Ethernet address, right? Okay, so that's third point. Ethernet is the LAN technology today. Most other technologies are obsolete. It uses CSMA/CD protocol. It's very simple protocol. That's the reason it became so popular, and it's fully distributed protocol. It means that each node runs the same protocol. Okay, and now we have more than 400 Gbps link speed available, as we have seen in this case. Okay, Ethernet and IP is a great combination, right? Wherever you find IP, there is Ethernet. And then Ethernet has evolved not only to local area network, but wide area network as well. Ethernets can frame hundreds of kilometers without any issue over fiber. And beauty of all this is that Ethernet is very cheap technology. I mean, you can get Ethernet card for less than few hundred rupees. Okay. Any question?